We got ourselves another Giga clip from Mr. Sleepy Clips. Giga didn't expect a new Mappa anime to be actually an isekai, and I got a lot of things to say about Zenshu. We low-key might be dropping Zenshu because of the viewership and the lack of interest. Let's see what Giga thinks about it.
Damn, I watched the first few episodes of Zenshu. I thought
Yeah.
you guys were memeing, calling it an isekai. I was like, oh yeah, it's like an isekai. It's like an isekai because she draws. Here's what I thought, right? Because I saw you guys talking about
Did bro not watch the trailers?
Zenshu in my previous stream. I saw you guys talking about Zenshu and people were like, ah yes, haha, the isekai. And I was like, ah okay, chat's just memeing. They're calling it an isekai because she must just get so involved in her drawings and her works that she just gets enveloped and gets isekai'd into her world. That's what they're memeing about. And then I watched it and I'm just like, this is just
Isekai.
this is an isekai.
Yeah.
This is straight up just an isekai.
Low-key isekai slash omniscient reader's perspective if you only take the part of the main character knowing the fucking plot of the story and they can, work around it.
Straight up just an isekai. You know, one thing I will respect it for is that even though it is an isekai, it is
Great.
not a typical isekai.
It looks great. The production value is very, very good. But I think Zenshu will be a case study for the future where production value cannot save a mid-story. And even if you don't think that Zenshu is a mid-story, it blows my mind how, and again, YouTube anime reaction channels viewership is not like the definitive law, some sort of metric that we can use to say this anime is good, this anime is bad, this anime has a lot of interest, this anime doesn't have a lot of interest. But across the board, there is a scaling coefficient that is visible in a lot of people's channels, and Zenshu underperforms for everybody. And even if it looks pretty, even if it looks so fucking stunning, if the story isn't compelling enough to that isekai audience, to that target audience, no one's gonna give a fuck about it. And why is the story not compelling enough? To me, the whole idea of the main character knowing the plot, therefore she can work around it, is unique. However, to a lot of people, this might be really underappealing. Combine that with the fact that the main character is also a girl, and this might be a misogynistic take, but I do think that the traditional isekai market, the audience, they cannot self-insert them to Hirose. They don't care about her. This is not some loser turned into gigachab with a harem with a lot of degenerate fan service that we see in a lot of these other shows, right? And it's really interesting to me that there are so many other shows, like, again, there is that Mastering Magic Isekai where it's a fucking speed run of all the fucking shitty tropes that exist in Isekai, and the production value is so bad. But because the story is written in a way that really scratches the itch for the Isekai market audience, even if you don't have production value on the level of Zenshu, it can do better. And this is like more condemning and just more signals to, I guess, these studios that, like, hey, why bother putting this much effort into pumping out these shitty isekais when, as long as the story is, the story element, hits the right tones for the market audience, we don't really have to go all out on fucking production value. Zenshu, again, looks stunning. It looks so fucking good, but production value itself cannot save an anime when the target audience just does not give a fuck about the plot, nor, I guess, the main character.
The Zenshu isekai reminds me of the kind of isekai before isekai became a thing. It reminds me of like the 90s kind of isekai, like 12 Kingdoms,
Okay.
Or what else was there back in the day? No, not... What is that mecha anime that's an isekai? God! Here and there, kind of, but it's like 12 Kingdoms and... Guys, what is that mecha anime?
I don't know.
Escaflowne. I don't know why I was thinking...
Damn, you call that out. You call that out before they mentioned in the video. Maybe you already watched this clip, but pretty impressive.
About like Ava. I knew it began with an E, but I was like, oh man, what's that old school isekai? Escaflowne. Those kinds of stories where people get transported to a fantasy world, but this was before isekai became a modern word, and we just called these shows fantasy. What about...
Yeah, and I think, again, there is that whole aspect, like, when you think isekai, you don't really think Zenshu, right? Because isekai is otherworld. That's all you needed to be an isekai. But if you really look at the bulk of the isekais that's coming out, it doesn't hit all those trashy, degenerate boilerplate template fucking bingo check marks, right? Where's the fucking where's the slavery? Where's the elves, bro? Where's the elf slaves? Where's the OP power that you get? I mean, she kind of does have an OP power, but where's like the harm that you get later on? Like, I'm just trying to name off just a couple things that are so stereotypical in this boiler template that every fucking isekai starts off with, that a lot of the audience are so familiar and comfortable with, right? It's just very cozy. They've had it over and over again. But in Zenshu, very few of those elements are present, and again, it's just really hard to sell this to that isekai audience.
Oh, Gundam. I mean, the thing I like about Zenshu is that it seems like it's just an homage to animation in general, and it has a very, very interesting take on it. We'll have to see how interesting the isekai aspect of it is going forwards, but it's nice just to see an isekai story where one of the main plot lines is the girl actually trying to get back to her world, which is nice. Before, you know, back when the main point of isekai was like more reminiscent of something like Narnia, where you get transported to this fantasy world and you kind of like get enveloped in it, but at the end of the day, you are still an outsider and you eventually try to go back. Before isekai got copy pasted with gimmicks, yeah, basically. Before every isekai.
But those gimmicks are what people want. The gimmicks are very successful, right? All those like degenerate, trashy things, like again, Mastering Magic has so many of those elements, right? It's just like every fucking thing that is in a degenerate power fantasy isekai is in it, and people love it, even though the production value is bad. Compared to Zenshu, where the production value is good, but the story just doesn't hit for that audience.
The guy was doing the exact same thing. It had a Nazca reference, so that immediately made it peak fiction. It not only had a Nazca reference, it had the, I think, what's it called again? The Itano Circus? The animation thing where the missiles go flying
projectiles
about. So it seems like, you know, that's a very Sakuga nerdy kind of like reference. So
yeah, and it was literally done by, you know, Itano himself. He came out and fucking helped with that.
It seems like this is kind of like, in its own way, a love letter to the history of animation, and I'm wondering if they're going to do like a different thing every episode where it references a modern, like a major point in Japanese animation. What is bro yapping about? I'm yapping about Zenshu, the new Mappa anime, which we thought was going to be the next Shirobako, but turns out it's the next isekai.
Would it have done better if it was the next Shirobako? I haven't seen it, but I hear it is a literal just show tackling the themes of production value itself behind the scenes of the anime industry. And you know what? At this point, seeing the lack of interest in the isekai themes, maybe it would have done better, man. Maybe it truly would have done better if it didn't go the isekai route.
Just the next isekai. Have you seen Razafon? Yes, I have. I love Razafon. There was a point when I preferred it to Ava. That was when I was an edgy teenager, and I was like, Ava? Overrated. I like Razafon actually, and now Ava's like one of my favorites anime of all time, and Razafon is still an anime that I like a lot. Oh god,
Zenshu, I saw the first two and I suspect it sucks. It doesn't suck, but the vibe that I'm getting from the greater audience known as YouTube, just don't care about it.
I saw the first two and suspect that it sucks. I mean, I thought the first two episodes were pretty strong. Not like amazing, but they were pretty strong. Signs of the times that nowadays we just want to stay dead. I assume you're talking about the isekai reincarnation stories. Razafon mentioned nice, awesome mecha anime. Hello, my fellow boomer. If anyone recognizes Razafon, you are probably my age. Keep at it.
It's a nice show. It's just not gonna pop off like people thought. But I'm not even asking for the show to pop off though, right? Like I'm straight up not even asking for the show to pop off. I'm just I at least expect it to fucking be at least average. It's not even hitting average. Like here, let me bring you the fucking analytics, honestly. I'll bring this shit up. And there's a bunch of reasons why it's actually in my best interest to drop Zenshu, but let me bring you the analytics to really portray the you know what's happening. So if you look over here, right? Let me bring up my dashboard and let's search by Zenshu. And if you look over here, the first thing I want you to notice is the copyright. See the copyright? So Zenshu, every episode is currently getting demonetized, but not blocked. And you know what? that's better than it getting completely blocked. So when you get a copyright claim, they're going to take away the dollars, as you can see, then minus the red sign. But the visibility is not impacted, right? Sometimes these assholes will go out and fucking block that shit too. But for Zenshu, they don't care. They just want to pay the, you know, they just want to give the video money, the money to the copyright holders. And you know what? If you want to take a couple dollars off these reactions, go for it. But already there, you can tell that why would I pump out videos when it's just like, I'm not making money off of it, right? This is a fucking business venture, by the way. And then if you look at the engagement, the first episode got 7K views. Pretty fucking good. But that's what happens when it's something brand new and people want to see what the most newest trending shit is. It's easy. Every first episode is very easy to get a lot of views on. The next couple episodes, let's compare these, right? Let's compare the recent episodes. This is the opening reaction. So let's look at, you know, episode 2. And episode 2 underperformed, as you can see, right? It's definitely like, it's not the end of the world, but it is definitely underperforming. And if you look at the audience tab, it's not even like there's any tours. It's just from my audience too, right? And they just don't really care about it. And the most recent episode is just underperforming on another fucking level. Now, there is the added issue with the fact that we are shadow banned right now. But it's still like, compared to every other show, shadow ban meaning like the bulk of the viewership now only goes to subscribers until the 3-day mark where, you know, you can see actually the trajectory of the video going up after the 3rd day and more people that usually would have already seen the video finally get the video. It's just, no one cares, man. And here's the thing. I really believe that this has to do with not the production value, not how the show looks, but what the isekai audience expects from an isekai show. And just like what Giguk said, this is not really that, right? It doesn't have all those fucking gimmicks. It doesn't have like the stupid power fantasy of, you know, bullied person getting revenge and flexing on everybody. It doesn't have like, you know, you being like the savior of these like elf slaves or building a harem or so many other, you know, little things that you see in plenty of other isekais. And it makes a lot more sense to me why producers, studios, projects for anime, like, you know how I said, why can't these people just focus on one good fucking show to pop off like Frieren? Because one good show can define a fucking generation of anime watchers rather than trying to pump out 30 shitty isekais per year. Well, here's the issue, right? Here's the fucking reason right here. Imagine you spent all that time building this shit just to release Zenshu and it flopped. Bro, the liabilities with this fucking project is insane. Why bother doing it when clearly production value doesn't matter at the end of the day for a specific isekai show like this? It's just, you could pump out some, again, there's like The Great Alchemist, there's fucking Magic Maker, there's fucking Mastering Magic, and these are just some of the isekai shows that I'm talking about, which is pretty underwhelming, pretty mediocre, if not below mediocre in terms of production value. But because the story has these points where, again, it kind of hits those gimmicks that the regular isekai audience expects, those shows are gonna perform better. And yeah, I told you that anime reaction numbers on YouTube doesn't really mean much at the end of the day. But I feel like, again, that there is a scaling coefficient of how well a show does on my channel and other people's channels and how much that's really talked about in a greater audience. Does it not make sense to you that something more popular, something more interesting will simply get more views and more attention compared to shit that doesn't, right? And Zenshu, I think, is just has a problem with, again, just not having those standard isekai gimmicks. And the fact that the main character is a female character, I think, is also an issue. And I'm not trying to be misogynistic, but if you really think from like a business perspective of trying to procure a show that the isekai audience wants to watch, it's not going to be a female lead. And I believe for these reasons that Zenshu is flopping. There's also the fact that Zenshu is an anime original, meaning there was no prior like fandom or like big audience that was, you know, hyping this shit up and, you know, kind of brigading it when it came out. But it's just so sad to me because Zenshu looks stunning. It looks great, but there's the issue with the copyright and the lack of viewership and the audience's interest not just being there. Low key, we might have to drop it pretty soon. Please go check out Sleepy Clips channel. Here's a link. Go give them if you like, if you want. They post a lot of Giguk and Giguk adjacent content. I'll see you guys next time.